The Strain Season 3, Episode 9, Do or Die. This was a pretty crazy episode leading up to this season's finale. I wasn't expecting the ending of this episode at all. The only time I expected someone to die at the end of this episode was pretty much when it started. Because it's like, okay, they're picking off all these, random people. And I'm like, okay, I really hope Angel doesn't die. Like, I didn't want any of the characters to die. But if I had to pick a character out of the four at the end, it would have to be, like, the police chief guy. Like, I was trying to find his name. I was going through, like, the whole IMDb list trying to find this dude. I don't think he has a picture, or I skipped past him really early, so I don't remember the character's name still. But I was like, if I had to pick a character, I would choose him to die. I don't want Gus to die, don't want Angel to die, and I don't want Justine to die. And we go through this whole crazy sequence. They're picking off all these random people and stuff. And then it gets insane. Like, the first person that's hit is Angel. And I was like, oh, it's Angel. Because I thought, oh, there's going to be one person. I figured it would be one of these people is going to die. And so Angel gets hit. And I'm like, oh, that really sucks. It was, it ends up being Angel. And then it goes to Justine and the cop. And the cop gets hit in the back of the neck. So Justine turns around and blows this thing away, and a worm lands on her face. And I was like, holy crap, they're going to kill all three of these characters. And Gus is the only one to ultimately escape at the end of this episode. And that was insane to me. I was like, I can't freaking believe they just killed off all three of these characters. That was pretty nuts. But I love the way they ended it with Angel, where he like holds his arm up, and when the flame explodes, it's like him as, I forgot his actual thing, which is Angel, and in his full costume and everything. I was like, that was pretty sweet. That was actually a cool way to do that. But very surprising ending. Not what I was expecting at all from this episode with that ending there. And it's kind of funny because this came out the same day as the Walking Dead premiere, and it's kind of crazy where people were like, holy crap about this and that. And it's funny because both these shows are comic book shows, but I don't read The Strain, but I do read The Walking Dead. So it's like, this kind of did what I think The Walking Dead was supposed to do for me, but that didn't do anything, because I was like, whatever. But this, really caught me off guard, because I don't read the comics or the original novel version. So it really caught me off guard. I was like, holy crap, they killed off 3 freaking characters in the same little explosion too. It wasn't like they were going along and one was getting picked off after the other, or they had to figure out what to do. It was like, oh, one person was bit, so they had to have that conversation, like, I don't want to do this type of thing. I was like, nope, they were just fighting. They were trying to escape, and it didn't work. Gus was the only one that was able to make it out, and they all died in the same explosion together. And it was just like, man, that's having nuts. That was a crazy way to end it. And basically, it kind of shows that they're shortening up the characters. I don't know, they'll probably add some people in, of course, in the next season. But as far as getting to the end of this one, they just killed off 3. As far as I'm concerned, those were 3 main characters, and they killed them off. All of them came in, in the last season, and they made it all the way through that, and basically all the way through this one as well. I mean, I think Angel came in a little bit before Justine and the cop, but I'm pretty sure that was like before the halfway mark. Justine was introduced and stuff, so I was like, man, they were there for a while. They had a lot of important scenes and a lot of important roles, as far as what they did and how they fought and who they fought and when and where and stuff. So it was really crazy to lose all 3 of those characters in that single explosion. And then the main part of this episode was really about Palmer, and I actually really enjoyed that. I thought it was really fun, where they kind of jump through time, and we get to see Palmer as he was a young adult, and we find out who his father was, who he's estranged from, because he is basically the illegitimate son. Like, he's the son of the other woman. So his father never cared about him, and he's never even considered his son. Like, it's always like, oh, like when he went to the receptionist, she's like, I know his son, and he's not you. And then even when he's, a grown man, and he goes, and they have this scene at the end, he's like, hello, father, and the first thing the woman says is like, oh, you have another son. And it's like, man, he just never cared about him. Not even because he sucked. It wasn't like Palmer was a crappy child or anything like that. It was just that he didn't want to be associated with having an illegitimate son. And he was just like, nope, don't want to deal with that. So I was like, man, it was kind of messed up how he treated him, and he just kind of lived his life, like Palmer lived his life, basically trying to get back at his father. And they had a great scene at the end where, despite everything that happened, his father still kind of got one up on him. And the actor, it was funny at first seeing the actor, Don Stark, because he used to be the father in one, not the main father, I guess, but the other father in that 70s show. So when he first showed up, I was like, that's hilarious to see him. But it was just interesting. It starts off and he's like, I was thinking about sending flowers, but I didn't because it would be this, sort of a fake gesture after all this time. And he's like, here's $10,000 instead of doing something genuinely great for him and just being like, you know what, here's a job, which is all he was asking for. He just didn't want to have, the second son, close to him. He's like, here's $10,000, and, he's just like, get out, like, be gone, like, this is it, this is the last little bit of any obligation you feel that I have, for you, and, do whatever, see the sights, do whatever you want, but don't be near me, like, you just be out of my life. And he just goes through and he lives his life trying, building wealth and hoping that he could somehow overcome his ailment, which persisted through his entire life. Like, he was using the cane even when he was a young adult. So it was just very interesting, like watching his journey. And he goes through, like, when he meets his father and gives him the 10,000, and we find out why the company's called Stoneheart, which is kind of sad now because I just thought it was like an interesting name. And then he's like, I'm going to change it. I bought everything up and I'm destroying your name and I'm changing it all to Stoneheart, inspired by you. And I was like, man, that's actually really sad. And his father even calls him out. He's like, all this time you were trying to, best me and stuff like that. And he's like, all you did was work and it made you look horrible. And he's like, you look older than me. And I was wondering during that scene, I was like, I wonder who's older out of these two. I was very curious because I didn't think about it until they actually had that scene. And I'm like, I wonder who's actually older because the dude, and I used to call him Cadbury, but I actually use the character's name. But the guy who plays Palmer used to be like the old movie Richie Rich, which came out like '92 or something. So I kind of thought about that because he looked like, maybe it's just the way he looked, but he looked like he could have been in like his late 20s during that. He was probably early to mid 20s, but he looked like he could have been in his late 20s to early 30s. And that was in 1992. So I'm like, are they? I was very curious, like the age between the actors. But I thought it was really well done. I love what they did with his storyline, and he goes through, and then they kind of recall a flashback that we got earlier in the series when Palmer was first approached by Icorus and given the offer from the master, and he goes back to him and is like, man, and, even that was after the whole thing with his dad. That was a few years later, and he ultimately made the decision to work with him because he wanted to have that eternal life. Like, he wanted to outlive his father and outdo everything he'd ever done, and know that he still made it longer than his dad did. So it's like, man, it's just a crazy story of his life, just in these little snippets, and his horrible relationship with his father, and not having a mother because she died when he was in his 20s or something like that. So it was just very interesting going through that storyline. We of course have Fett, who he makes like a small appearance, but basically he shows up to say like, hey, all the cops are leaving, we need to get the heck out of here like they are, because everyone's pretty much abandoning ship now. I mean, and that's pretty much how we lose the characters at the end of the episode, because Justine wants people to stay, and it's only like 8 people or something like that, including her and her second in command. So, everybody's leaving town. We have the scene with Gus and Angel early on in the episode where they see the cops, they're just taking off, and it's like, I guess everybody's leaving. So things are going nuts. Fett shows up to tell F and Dutch, like, hey, you guys got to get the heck out of here. Like, it's time for us to leave. But they finally complete their machine, and they're able to cut off the signals to all the different creatures. So that was great. That was a really great scene. And then, of course, they go to, Satrakian and Fett at the end of the episode. And it's like, we finally got it. We can use this. Leading to a fight scene between Fett and F, which I thought was a very interesting little scene where basically they're just like, oh, remember how you sucked at this and these people died, and you know how you screwed up with that and those people died, which is real messed up because Fett started it, so I do blame him for sure. Because the first thing he brought up were the two people that F loved, and I'm like, that was a bit of a low blow. Like even what F said as a comeback, I'm like, technically he's right because it failed, but I'm like, man, even that doesn't apply. Like, technically, a lot more people did die, but Fett didn't really care about any of them, and he also didn't see what one of the people that he loved like kill themselves in front of him. So it was just a real low blow as far as I was concerned. What Fett said, like, oh, with Nora and Kelly. So it was just like, wow, that was kind of messed up that he did that. But basically, we have our small little team together. I'm curious what they're gonna do with Gus, but we have F, Dutch, Fett, Satrakian. Quinlan does show up at the end. He didn't appear to be missing any limbs or anything, so I was like, all right, that's good, because I was very curious if he was gonna actually be affected by the bomb. And then we also have, and they kind of focus on this in the trailer, but Eichhorst gets, I can't say destroyed because he didn't die, but he got shot up, and I thought they were legitimately gonna, end his character, but honestly, because they didn't, I just assume he's gonna survive the finale because he's Eichhorst. He's like, we see him more than we see anybody. Like more, at least as far as the villains go, we see him more than we see the Master. Even when the Master was in the series, Eichhorst still showed up more because Eichhorst was the one that would go out and do the makeup so he could be in sunlight and stuff, and it just worked. Like it worked for him, and it'll be interesting to see how the show plays out. If they end up killing his character off in the finale. And we also find out that the shipment were just the bombs. The shipment didn't appear to be another ancient, which I was very surprised by. It just ended up, well, it seemed like there should have been an ancient in there because it was basically like a bunch of foam, and they took the two briefcases out, and I'm like, that's a ginormous freaking thing. Like, I doubt the bombs were so sensitive they needed that. Well, I don't know. I guess because they're smaller, they aren't like encased in giant chunks of metal. So maybe that's why they needed a giant box and it's all foam. I have no idea. But I'm like, they had this huge box and it's like two briefcases with little nukes in them. I'm like, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I don't know. Like I was like, that still should have an ancient in there somewhere in that box. Should have been an ancient, but basically it's like, yeah, that's not the case. We just bought some nukes from Russia and then had them like shipped through Egypt, and then they came here, and that was it. So it was like, oh, there's no other ancient. So that surprised me. I was very surprised by that. There's just some nukes, which one of them is still there, and Palmer has it now. So of course he's going to try to use it against the Master. It is a nuke, so it's going to be useful if he ends up using it, or if someone else gets their hands on it, if he ends up dying, or something like that. I don't know. I feel like someone might die in the finale, despite the fact that they did kill off 3 characters. They were all technically, side characters. Like, Gus was in like the first episode, so we have like our, still our main people and all our main heroes and stuff. But I don't know. It's really hard to say at this point. I mean, they killed off 3 people, so I kind of doubt they'll kill off somebody else. But I don't know. It's really hard to say. But I'm of course very excited for this finale. Sucks to see the characters, 3 characters get killed off. We may or may not be losing the coolest villain, in the series, because the Master's just like, the god character where you just don't see him, but they're there all the time. And then you have, Eichhorst, who's all over the place. Like, he's the one who does all the meetings. He's the one who's making examples out of people all the time. So if we lose him, I don't know. I mean, I guess Kelly would step up and take over, and I guess that would be very interesting to watch her character get a more important role on the side of the villains. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We don't really see Kelly. I mean, she's in like, I think 1 scene in this episode. So, she's in the background there, but not much is happening with her and Zach, at this point. But fun episode. Very sad ending to lose 3 characters all in 1 scene. But definitely excited for the finale, of course. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, 2 big questions for this. How do you guys feel about the deaths that were done in this episode? And of course, what do you guys think is going to happen in this season finale? There are like a million different ways it can play out. I want to know, your predictions, hopes for it. Hopes might be different than your predictions. So we'd love to know what you guys think is going to happen, what you want to happen, how you feel about the deaths in this episode, and what you guys thought about the rest of the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.